the weather has turned nasty for race 2. It's a reverse top 10, so Jack Perkins moves to pole position. But Rick Kelly, let's have a look at Queensland Raceway. On paper, that shows you why we call it the paperclip.
It certainly does. Very simple track, only 6 corners on this circuit. You can see from the warm-up lap, very wet conditions now, and the track, since the flooding earlier this year, it's deteriorated. You can actually see the cracks in the main straight there. Very wet, very slippery conditions, and it takes a very, very special effort to get a car off the line very well in the wet conditions.
One car going to pit lane. Chaz Mostert will start from the lane. Here's the grid for you. Jack Perkins and Andrew Jones on the front row. David Wall and Tony Bates, who did a stunning job with a personal best result in the first race. You go back to row 5 and you find Thompson and McLaughlin. Tim Blanchard, the Jayco Ford, has struggled this weekend, and Grant Denyer kept out of trouble in race 1.
It certainly did. It's going to be interesting to see how they get off the line. Obviously, not much experience out there on some of the grid spots, and like I say, even to perform in the wet is very different to the dry, so it could be a first time for a lot of these guys to actually race in the wet.
Lots of repairs from a lot of teams that are starting down the back of the grid. Green flag. We haven't done too much wet racing in the Fujitsu series over the course of the last couple of years. Jack Perkins has finished high in this championship before. Andrew Jones was the 2004 series champ. Let's get ready to slip and slide, and Jones is going nowhere.
Very slow start for Jones, but you can see lots of cars almost on the grass up the back of the field there for Percat. Plenty going on into one again.
How about Paul Morris? The Commodore started 8th. It's at the lead. Look around. Tim Blanchard. Contact with Rodney Jane. Adam Wallace in. He's recently purchased Lee Holdsworth car.
He's still got it moving back on at the exit of turn 1. Hopefully it's not the end for Tim.
And in these conditions, the gravel isn't so bad. Tony Bates, did he go?
Big slide. He's gone.
Yes, he did. That's gone.
You can see the mist anywhere from third back. Very difficult to see under brakes into turn 3 at the moment. Morris having a great start, coming out in front. It's a little bit tough being out at front. You just don't know where to brake. You can see from the start, still a lot of standing water around. Very difficult first lap just to gauge the grip that's actually available.
This is Rodney Jane. He's in the gravel at turn 2.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't know whether I just aquaplaned to that turn.
Now, he had contact with Tim Blanchard, no doubt. Left-hand front damage to that car. And we'll have to keep an eye. Look at that. That's Jack Perkins, who's just starting to cut his way through the field. He got a 25-point championship penalty for the contact with Nick Percat from race 1. Percat's team had a really late night getting that car back on the track, but safety car's been called, in fact, because Rodney Jane is stuck in the gravel. Have a look at this start from Morris. He's on row 4, and he just goes past them all like they're standing still.
Straight out to where the grip is. There's not much grip on the inside. You can see some cars struggling on the poor surface there.
Morris, the leader at 1. Look back. There's the contact with Blanchard and Jane that sent the Jayco Ford to the scenery. Brett Stewart avoiding action as well.
They all seem to keep it moving, but you can see Rodney just moving a little bit and making a little bit of contact with Tim just about here. Looks like the two wheels have come together and really bit and threw the car off. Quite an unlikely situation there to actually send him out there, but still a little bit of grip in the sand track when it's nice and wet.
Now, this was Tony Bates, the Greg Murphy Racing Commodore that won the series last year with Steve Owen. Just got the left rear out, and away he went.
High-speed spin there at the exit of 2. Quite a quick corner.
Not much to hit here either, though.
No, very lucky spot.
This is looking back at Daniel Gillison, and this is Rodney Jane with damage. He can't turn at turn 2, and he's done. He's out after finishing a good 6th in race 1. Became a dad again just after the last round in Townsville with the arrival of baby Georgina, but unfortunately his race 2 is done. There's clearly steering arm damage there.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see from the driver point of view, inside that car, it's all fogged up. Very hard to keep that away in these conditions.
We'll defog the mirrors. We'll get running again soon. The safety car will leave the track when we come back to Queensland Raceway. Back at Queensland Raceway with the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. While we were away, Tim Blanchard had another problem, a big spin on the approach to turn 2, and look how close this was, Rick Kelly.
Yeah, he stayed off the brake pedal for a bit, just getting missed. Very lucky there. Quite an awkward spin. Maybe something's wrong with his car. It didn't look like something that bit him aggressively, just slowly came around on him.
They've had brake problems with this car all weekend. Tim's really been struggling. 11th in race 1, on board with Grant Denyer. First time in a Commodore, a long-time Ford man. And he says, Rick, that this car's got a lot more point in the front end than he's used to.
And that can certainly take just a little bit of time to get used to. But on board with Grant, you can really hear the traction slipping up the main straight there in the wet. So a lot of horsepower, not much grip.
Have a look behind. Andrew Thompson has not made an impression in this race. He hasn't been able to cut his way through the field. Nick Percat is passing him.
Around the outside.
Around the outside. Percat started 25th. Chaz Mostert behind started last. He was in the pits.
Certainly looks like Thompson's got a little bit of work to do on his driving in the wet weather conditions, and particularly at this track. I mean, you go to the next 2 races for this youngster, it's going to be Phillip Island and Bathurst. It's going to rain at some point, and there's no doubt, a very good chance of it. So he needs to look at that for sure, but still doing a solid job, not making any major mistakes, just hasn't quite got the pace that you need to win. Mostert
here is the fastest man on the road, that ex-888 Falcon from the Miles Racing team, as Percat picks up a spot. He goes by Grant Denyer in the Crimsafe Commodore. Just up the road is David Wall in the Wilson Security Car, having his best run of this year's series. Missed the last round at Townsville with a busted foot, but Grant better look after this car. It's your winner from New Zealand.
It certainly is. It's won a race this year in the main game, so he's doing a great job. It was actually in the wet, so a bit of pressure on Grant there, but you can see the track's not really drying up, not really a dry line appearing at all, which makes it very difficult to pass.
You can hear there the run into turn 3.
Very nice move, I think. They're very clean, well executed. You can see young Nick Percat already making great ground on the 3 cars he's just passing the previous lap, moving forward at a great rate of knots. Bit too deep for young Jones.
Andrew Jones, that was a change for the lead for about 0.3 of a second, but Paul Morris got back down the inside, but Jones has really eaten into this margin, and they are miles in front of the rest.
In these damp conditions, you can really see cars struggling with interior fog as well.
McConville's been given a black flag, so we are P5.
That's Michael Ritter, team manager for Jack Perkins. McConville in the Rare Spares Holden Restoration Parts Commodore. He's been given a drive-through penalty for overlapping on the restart, and with the visibility the way it is, Paul Morris is actually wiping the screen. Look at him inside the cabin of that car. He's absolutely determined to get as much vision as he can.
Certainly can be difficult to see out the passenger window in your mirrors, see when cars are passing in these conditions. He must have long arms to reach the window in those sorts of conditions. He would have to loosen his belts considerably.
Andrew Jones really starting to close in this BOC Commodore. It ran in flexi-hire colours at Townsville. It's back in the familiar BOC red, white and blue this weekend, and he's going for the lead. He's in the gap at turn 4. Job done.
Very good pass. Not a lot of grip in that corner. You've really got to get a good run and have great confidence to be able to do that. So solid pass, and see how he goes from here.
We'll see Paul Morris at the Enduros teaming up with Steve Owen in the VIP Pet Foods Commodore. Earlier in the weekend, he was put back on the grid for blocking in qualifying, and this was one of the cars that he was deemed to have blocked Jack Perkins off the road, and that made for a bit of an interesting scenario because Jack is employed at Paul Morris Motorsport.
Not the quickest way around that corner. You can see him having a big dive on the Jayco car and just running a little too wide there. Quite a bit too wide, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, and a bit further and a bit more. Look at all the cars firing up the inside and stealing spots away. This is the onboard view. Got a great run off turn 3, but this is where it's...
You can see how moist it is on that side of the track compared to where the dry line's just starting to appear. Just locks up and goes straight off, undoing all that great work he'd just done.
Scott McLaughlin, our race 1 winner here with David Russell. The Jayco Ford has been pretty consistent. He also was penalised in qualifying for blocking, so started 12th, got to 5th in race 1, and is now going very, very strongly. There's Nick Percat, Coates Hire Commodore. But Chaz Mostert is in front of him. This is a stunning drive. He's the reigning Australian Formula Ford champion, and he's got webbed feet, clearly.
This is really great experience for these guys. Obviously, this is the feeder category of the main game V8 Supercars, and these sorts of conditions really teach drivers a lot. So great to see everyone having a fair income go with 2 laps to go, still plenty going on.
1 to go now across the line. Andrew Jones on his way home. We'll see him again with the Brad Jones Racing outfit at the Enduros. Finished on the podium last year at Phillip Island with Jason Richards. There's Morris in second. Big gap, the whole length of the Dick Johnson straight back to David Russell third. Scott McLaughlin in fourth. The combined results will give him pole for race 3 as Cam McConville takes his drive-through penalty. And for the crime. I don't think that the penalty fits the crime.
No, and it's a very late stage in the race to have that happen as well. But here you see on the replay, a lot of blocking going on.
Let's have a look back now. Cameron pulls out from behind. He's off to our right there to clear where those cars were all moving to the other side of the road.
You can see him in front as well. I mean, there's a lot more grip where Cameron's moved, and obviously I think he expected the cars around him to accelerate better than what they did.
If anything, yeah, it looked like Grant was actually going to play it very steady into turn one, so Cam was just caught out there. But his former teammate, Andrew Jones, the series champion 04, this is going to be a drought breaker. It's been a long time since Jonesy's had a race win, but he has done the best job in this race. So the Team BOC Commodore will pick up a win in race 2 through the wet at Queensland Raceway. Andrew Jones gets the win. He was 9th in race 1. He did a great job in that one. And Paul Morris in 2nd spot. Very good weekend, a 3rd and a 2nd. He'll be a factor in race 3.
And a very, very strong run by Chaz Mostert to finish 4th front pit lane with the fastest lap of the race at 1:21.5.
It's 1.2 seconds faster than the race winner, Andrew Jones. Imagine if he'd actually started from where he was supposed to in 14th on the grid. Let's have a look at the order, though. McLaughlin in 5th. He'll have pole for race 3. Percat, Perkins, David Wall doing a good job. The reigning Australian GT champ. Andrew Thompson struggled. The Monster Commodore was 9th. Grant Denyer 10th. Drew Russell was 11th from 26th on the grid. A great driver. McConville rejoined for 12th, but Kylie is with our winner.
Well, you're not long back in this game and success already. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I know it was a reverse grid race and we had a bit of trouble yesterday, but look, a win's a win, and I feel like it wouldn't have mattered where we started in that race. The thing had so much speed in the rain. Biggest hindrance was, if you could imagine, looking through your shower screen when it was all fogged up. You know, I had that going on, so I let Maury be the pioneer for a little bit, and he set the pace, and then, you know, was pretty comfortable at the end. But good fun and a good little battle with Paul, so good job to him for the room and good racing.
Stay with us after the break. It's the 3rd and final race. We'll decide a winner in round 4 of the Fujitsu Series at Queensland Raceway.